Dante, welcome, brother.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
We're trying to get you on here for a while now. Busy man. This is one of the toughest dudes to get a hold of. First and foremost, Dante, we connected this past year, 2024.
Yeah.
Right, for the first time officially.
Officially.
Yeah, because we were on social media. We connected on social media, but this is our first time officially connecting was last year. I would say Dante is like, you know that one guy in a video game or in the movies that you want to get in contact with because he has connections to all the things you need in order to pass that level or to get to the next connection? Dante is that guy. Since I met Dante, the plethora of connections that I've came across, I appreciate it, number one. But they all have been very imperative in my journey moving forward in regards to politics, right? To connect with certain people like Chris. Yeah. You guys know Chris by now. Chris, I met Chris through Dante. And then, we've been networking a little bit more since then. So again, I want to appreciate you for doing such great work out there, but also connecting me as well. So tell people, what do you do? Like, who is Dante, the mysterious guy?
So I would like to say, to sum it down in parts, all right? I do venture development, mostly in higher education, as well as technology.
Your nickname was Tech Kanye, right?
Tech Kanye, right? And I got that name from the Miz. Shouts out to the Miz. And I'm getting more famous than you think, the Miz. I'm getting more famous. I'm going to tell him exactly what you did when I get the chance. The Miz pretty great. She was one of my coders at one of my startups, and now she's like a super influencer.
Yeah.
Like millions of
Nice.
She coined me that name because
Kanye.
she actually was an actor, so she acted like she was a software developer for the startup I was with. And she was good, but nothing was getting built. So I'm coming.
How effective is that, right?
Exactly. Exactly. But long story short, yeah, I'm in mostly venture development through higher education as well as startups, technology. I got in that field it's going on 5 years now. Close to 6 if you include like entertainment, because entertainment now is technology and we was moving directly into that direction. But yeah, that's what I currently do. And I recently just got deep into politics because I realized how much government business affects everybody's business.
Affects life.
Yeah, it affects everybody. It's the biggest business. So if you're actually trying to start a business or you actually have an idea or you actually want to implement something into your community, the government plays a big role in shaping that environment. And we happen to have a local government that's incompetent.
So for people who want to know what it means by local explicitly, we're talking about Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls is where we're located at.
Yeah. Not only Niagara Falls, Buffalo government is
I
incompetent.
think the whole
Western New York.
Yeah. But reasons why I decided to take politics serious as well. Well, one, I'm a father. 2, I'm a businessman. And government affects both those things directly. So in order for me to set my children up with the future that will be advantageous for them to have freedom and growth, I decided, I was like, okay, well, it has to be a sacrifice of me getting into politics. Some way, shape, or form. If not directly, then indirectly involved with politics. So yeah, I'm with you there in regards to politics does play a quintessential role on what will be the future.
Exactly.
For anything that we do.
And it's personal. You know how people say, it's not personal, it's just business. It's both. Government business is personal and business, just like you said.
Correct.
So I take it personal when you allocate money to a project that we don't need, right? I take it personal if you don't understand how to bring technology companies to the region and grow the wealth of a region. You're literally making everybody poor.
Correct. And then you're wasting our money on top of it.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm all for it with you there. I think politics. I heard a quote from Patrick Bet-David. I don't know if you know who that is, but Pep, he said a quote one time on his podcast, and it was, those who don't pay attention to government will be governed by fools that do. And I was like, very, very interesting. And I'm like, yeah, because when you look at the people who are in government, and I think this past year, I paid a scrupulous amount of attention to what was happening politically wise. And I realized, like, damn, who put these people in power? It was because people weren't paying attention, so these people slipped through the crack into power. And I was like, okay. And then you've seen it with this past election. Like, majority of America, they were stepping up into politics again. I was like, nah, we're not letting this shit slide. Like,
exactly.
We're getting
and that's exactly why Trump won.
Yeah.
And even though Trump does have a big effect when setting the policies for the feds, for the nation, it's a trickle-down effect. It really, he could set the environment, but then your state could constrain you just because they don't like Trump. Mm-hmm. Your state could set the state environment, but then your city could constrain you just because they don't like Kathy Hochul.
Yeah.
So it's really starts at home.
For sure.
That's why it's so personal. So wherever you live, the government has to be effective. You should be involved. And if you feel you know somebody who could lead, you got to push them to lead. You can't just say, oh, that's politics. I don't get into politics. They are into you. They're like, every time you cash your check, they're getting paid. Mm-hmm. Every time you turn on your water, they're getting paid.
For sure. You know, another thing too, another barrier that I see a lot of, and I'll get more micro with it now and talk about the Black community essentially, is that we have this innate proclivity to be Democrat, right?
Yeah,
regardless of the scenario.
Regardless.
Yeah, and I'm like, what a deleterious stance to take as an individual, because it is an individual choice to not look at both sides and what they stand for, but just idiotically just pick a side because it's a social construct within your own community. I'm like, and that's what kind of drew my attention. And this is why I'm happy with this election, because I think a lot of people, not so many blacks voted for Trump that I thought was, well, I didn't think a lot would, honestly. But a lot more people did vote for Trump this election. He won the popular vote as well, because people are starting to pay attention and not just focus on the parties, but what the parties actually represent and the individuals leading the parties as well. Because when you have people like Elon Musk, you have people like Vivek Ramaswamy, you have people like Trump, you look at people in their entirety. What do they bring to the table? Then you use comparisons like Joe Biden in his entirety, Kamala Harris in her entirety. Like, there is literally no comparison. The polarity between the two is just night and day. So people want to pick something that's more advantageous to their future. So that's why they went with, the Republican Party this time around. And I don't think it's necessarily just the Republican Party. I think they just went with the leader of the Republican Party, which happened to be Donald Trump.
Yeah. And what's interesting about the Democratic Party, it's super codish. I know they say that MAGA, right? It's codish. Oh, Trump is the orange.
Cultish, yeah.
Cultish, yeah. They think it's Trump's the orange Jesus, and you guys praise Trump, right? So, but when you look at how the Democratic Party is structured, it's like a line, and you can't get up on that line or on that pedestal, whether you're African American or white, unless you waited your turn. It reminds me of like Cuba, or like it reminds me of something for socialism, because I know some Democrats who's been with the party forever, got great ideas, but they would never have a chance to run.
And why do you feel like they would never have a chance to run?
They never have a chance to run because they're not in line
with the ideology.
With the ideology enough.
Yeah. Poor ideology.
Exactly. And in the individuals in the Democratic Party who's already at the top, and they always talk about helping the people at the bottom, who's already at the top gets to pick the person who ascends the throne after they leave. So they get to pick their predecessor.
To bring it locally, and we'll divulge in this a little bit further in regards to like the Black community and the Democratic Party. I've seen, and I know you've seen as well, being on social media, throughout this election, I think this was the most tense it's ever been on social media. And for a various amount of reasons. I think a lot because, for me explicitly, because I was openly supporting Trump for the first time. I supported Trump. No, when he first won, I was like, nah, what's happening? I wasn't in tune enough, right? I didn't do my own research. So, but then after he won, and I realized like, okay, there's nothing, all the things that people were saying was going to happen is not happening. Why is that? Economy is better. There's no wars going on. The borders are more secure than it was prior. I'm like, what's happening? And then I'm like, things feel good. More money was in my pocket, most importantly. And I was like, okay, maybe he's not as bad. So I started doing my own research on everything. So this time around, I was like, no, we need Trump in office. I don't care what y'all say. so I went against the grain, right? And I think that it's imperative that people start to think for themselves. That's what I did. I just literally thought for myself. I didn't pay attention to what media was saying. I didn't pay attention to what my auntie, uncle, father, mother, I didn't care what anybody said. I did my own research. I figured out who was going to provide me and my family the best outcome in America moving forward. That was it. That was the only thing I focused on. And then what their track record said, politically, business-wise, where they go, did it have a net positive or net negative? So I just, in comparison, I was like, okay, yeah, Kamala Harris, San Diego. I was like, oh, Trump, what he did in Manhattan, and what he continuously have done. It's like, no, I want somebody who's going to be able, who has a track record to make things better moving forward. So the point that I'm making now is that I went against the grain, and a lot of people in Buffalo were upset. And a lot of people were upset because they weren't doing their own research. And this is why when I was debating these individuals, I was destroying them.
Yeah, I was watching it.
I'm like, this is the most easiest debates I've ever had in my life because none of y'all doing your research. Everybody's speaking from pure emotion. Where are the facts at? So I think that a lot of people have been bamboozled in Buffalo. Yeah. And I think, and I'm only bringing this up because I think it trickles down to Niagara Falls as well. What do you think? What do you think the people, or do you think this election woke up a lot of people in our community to think for themselves? Or do you think that it make them more cold stone, stuck in their ways?
I mean, I think this election, to be completely honest, I supported Trump during his first term.
Well, you was ahead of the time, brother.
And the reason why, I always bet on the future instead of the establishment. Because the future is always better than the establishment. And Trump was the future of what politics supposed to look like. Just how he carried himself through the debates. The things he said was so untraditional that they couldn't even comprehend or debate with him with a response. Because he's actually telling the truth. And it shook him up. So it's like, are you really up here saying that I was on the... Like when he told Mitt Romney, for example, he was like, I had Mitt Romney on his knees begging me after he lost to Obama, willing to do anything. He basically just said, Mitt Romney was on his knees begging him, willing to do anything. Meaning that Mitt Romney will do sexual favors just so he can have his way to men. That's basically what it is. So he doesn't say it directly, but he directly says the character.
He puts him in an inferior position.
He says the character of these individuals because he knows things that we don't know. The public don't know. And Mitt Romney stopped. And now Mitt Romney's one of his biggest supporters.
It's crazy. Yeah,
it's like
with Hillary Clinton, when he was like, when they were debating, Hillary was like, yeah, you don't pay any taxes and blah, blah, blah. He was like, yeah, I don't. And just like your donors don't neither. Like none of your donors pay taxes neither. Like, what are you talking about, lady? Like, what you gonna say to that?
You couldn't. So that's why I voted. That's why I always backed Trump, because it was the establishment against the future. And it's the same thing locally, right? So I feel like a lot of people woke up, especially men. African-American men has been like cast out.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, we've been put on the back burner.
Yeah, on a back burner when it comes to what political identity we want to choose. Because there's certain ideologies that's within the Democratic Party that we don't like, and then there's certain ideologies which is in the Republican Party that we don't like, right? But when you start mapping them out, which ones we truly don't want in our lives, and which ones we can possibly accept.
Correct.
And that's most of the time it falls to you being Republican.
Yeah, you know,
if you just chat out the values, if you just chart them out yourself.
Yeah.
We put a chart in front of people and tell them do you believe in this or you believe in this? And then it say exactly what you are based off the value system. Yeah. Maybe we should come up with a survey like that.
No, fact. I'll do a man on the streets too. You know, it's funny you mention that, because I look, men in general as a whole has been put on the back burner. But then if you want to, you know, get more detail with it, I would say yes, African-American men has put further back, right? And when you look at the left itself, their entire ideology, their pernicious views literally exclude men and masculinity and things of that nature and traditional men. It excludes that. It's all about LGBTQ. It's all about how you feel. It's all about women's rights. It's just literally excludes men. And you thought that was gonna work for you.
Exactly.
And this is why I have a problem, because when I debate with people and there's men that are fighting for their own demise, I'm like, bro, you don't even know what you're doing.
It's not them fighting. It's their wives in them. Or their girlfriends in them. Because most of the time.
Or their moms or their aunties.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And when you see, I honestly believe that any male that's a part of the Democratic Party at this stage of life, in 2025, is some women. It's either you was raised by women or some woman that have some type of control, influence on how you think.
Yeah.
So it drags you along to that party.
Yeah, that's that.
And that identity. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great perspective.
But Elon Musk, I don't know how many people saw this, because I'm like a super X user. He's calling for all the racist and incompetent fools to be kicked out of the Republican Party. So
yes,
and I backed it. I was like, yes. Mm-hmm. Now I say this all the time locally, right? That's the only weakness the Republicans have.
Yeah.
Only weakness is that they have like a family-orientated structure that's outside of the city centers, and it's in the rural areas to where they're all family. And it never comes into the city. So a lot of people don't know the Republican Party locally in New York State, because it's not in any major city or major urban area. Yeah, most of the time, they're in the rural areas of the suburbs, and it's family based. So if I walk into a Republican event, I don't know anybody there. These guys never came to my community and said anything to me. So once the Republican Party loses or change their identity from being just a party for white people that live in the rural areas or in the suburbs, and they actually start embracing people who share the same values as them. Because there's a lot of people who share the same values as them that lives in the urban community.
When you break it down on its merit, everybody honestly wants
what the
Republican Party represents.
And they already and they wanted it since
The exceptions of America.
The exceptions of America, and after Lincoln, right?
Yeah.
After Lincoln, you wanted what
when everybody had a free opportunity to live in America, we all essentially want the exact same thing.
Exactly.
And it was a freedom of enterprise, a freedom to create and build and evolve our family. That's literally essentially what it was.
Exactly, and keep government out of our lives.
Correct.
And bro, man, after Martin Luther King, it just went downhill for us.
Yeah.
And he didn't expect this. I can't believe I can say if Martin Luther King would come back today in this day and age and he sees what happened to the black community after the civil rights movement, he'd say like, wait.
Yeah, he'd be disappointed.
Yeah, he'd be extremely disappointed. And he'd be disappointed in a lot of the actual black politicians who
sold out.
Who got positions based off of what he kind of pushed through. Mm-hmm. And he'd be disappointed in us because we allow other minority groups to come in and use his civil rights passage bills and outbuild us. Like, we allow other groups to use civil rights and outbuild us in America.
Yeah. I had this conversation the other day about immigrants coming to this country and becoming wealthy. A lot of people, they get mad at immigrants that come into this country and somehow build wealth faster than people born in this country.
Yeah.
Like Patrick B. David is one of them. He was an immigrant. He came to this country, became a billionaire. Uh-huh. Like how? Like how does this one person come to this country with nothing and somehow become a multi-billionaire? And I think the major tool that America or the government has used to be able to control is separation. When you separate the family, it's easy for you to control each individual in the family. Also, it leaves the family vulnerable. So what a lot of these immigrants do, and I know from empirical data, working with a lot of these people, that they come in this country, they will stay together the entire time. They will live together in one house. They will split the rent. They will buy food. They will take their money, put a percentage aside, and invest in something. Then that asset will allow them to give them some modicum of freedom. Then they will continue building upon that asset. Still living together, still driving together in the same car. When I was a kid, we used to, not me in particular, but they used to make fun of Mexicans for driving in one car. Like 10 of them jumping out of one car. And I didn't really care. But looking back at it now, I'm like, yeah, they were stacking up the bread. That's why you see a lot of them, they will have a storefront, and then they'll buy a garage, and then they'll have a shop, a body shop. Like they will just keep building and building, and then to the point where they can move out the hood now. And then they will become Republican. So a lot of Spanish voted for Trump. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know if that was a story for all of them, and clearly not all of them are immigrants, but the simple fact that a lot of immigrants come to this country and take advantage of the opportunities here, and people that are actually born in this country literally don't take opportunity at all. They ignore it.
I don't want to. Immigrants do take advantage of the country, and
as they should.
As they should, and the immigrants get a fair shot immediately. I mean, they get a clean slate. They don't have any connections directly to the culture, any social pressures, any of the outside influences that affect Americans, like citizens that lived here for generations and generations. They don't have really too much peer pressure. Everything is mostly on them. The only thing that kind of like can shut like an immigrant down that never been to America before is their own internal family and inside. So as long as the family unit is looking towards progression, that's how it is. Yeah. They don't even care about what the rest of the Americans say. Yeah. They don't care about your opinion of them because they don't really care about you. Unlike the traditional American that lives in, let's say, those same guys that was laughing at the Mexicans in the Bronx. Yeah. Oh yeah, those same guy that was laughing at the Mexicans. They had to laugh because they cared about being socially connected with each other. They cared about what the other person thought of them. Yeah. If you didn't want to, if you said stop laughing at those people and try to give them like some clear ideology on why they're
They
doing
wouldn't
that,
understand.
they wouldn't even understand it. They wouldn't even care.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll look at you in a different type of light, or and now you're the target.
Yeah, now you're a
So Americans, and Elon and Vame was saying the same thing, man.
yeah, with the H1.
Yeah, with the H1, a lot of Americans they're not waking up to the fact that we're competing with the world now.
Mm-hmm.
They're not waking up to the fact that we're competing with the world. Some things that they say about the H1Bs, like we shouldn't allow foreign employees to work less, take American jobs. I agree to a certain extent.
Yeah, I agree to a certain extent.
But if we're gonna allow H1B visa employees come over to America, and get American jobs for lesser, then we should allow foreign businesses to come over here with their brands to compete against
the brands here.
Yeah, the brands here to offer the consumers and the American people better products.
Well, I think that's what's going to happen with a lot of the tariffs that Trump is implementing. I think a lot of companies are going to be forced to kind of create the companies within America instead of going
outside of it. Exactly. The same way you have to create your company in China.
Correct. Correct.
People don't see it that way, though.
Mm-hmm.
People don't see it that way.
Yeah, so I'm for the H1B visas. This whole scenario, I'm for these guys. I think they say 75% of them are from India, essentially.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm for it is because you have a lot of people that take science, mathematics, technology, all that very serious. Whereas if you look at the comparison of America, we take sports serious than anything else. So, or pop culture serious than anything else. So Vivek Ramaswamy stated this in his tweet. He said that when you have a society that celebrates or glorifies
the
jock over the valedictorian, you're going to have these type of problems in America. Yes, we're going to be lacking in producing when it comes to technology. So we're going to outsource. We're going to have to outsource, and that's what happened with the H1B visas. So I'm for it, and then clearly, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy know what the hell they're doing. They literally hire Americans to work. You know what I'm saying? Their companies are based in America. I'm 100% for it. As long as you're, again, if it's advantageous to America and providing us a platform to succeed and compete around the world, then let's do it.
Yeah. But I still say that if we are going to run H-1B visas, we need to invest more into workforce development and education within those departments of technology, math, science.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And directly local in communities.
Yeah, we don't negate from doing it. We have to.
Yeah, we have to do it.
Yeah.
We have to do it because we shouldn't be dependent on other people's time. But we did this already. We did this in World War II. We took a bunch of Germans and Russians who was extremely intelligent and brought them over here, who built amazing things for Hitler.
Correct.
During the 1930s, right? During Industrial Revolution, around the same time, we took a ton of Italians, right?
Yeah.
And brought them over here to help us build cities.
Yeah. Well,
now the thing is, they said because they need more skilled talent. Those type of policies back then was kind of, I think, redlining a little bit. Redlining for financial opportunities for Black people to have jobs, because this was right after slavery. The skilled talent was us. Who else knew how to do anything, right? So they brought in foreigners, and some people feel like it's the same model now. Like, you're bringing in foreigners so you can pay them less, and because you don't want American citizens to actually be in power, you're bringing in foreigners to pay them less. So, and another deal is too, once you're on an H-1B visa, you can't leave that company.
Yeah, that's another problem.
Yeah, so if we are American, you know how we are. Yeah, 6 figures.
Yeah, we dipping out.
18 months, another job. Yeah.
Yeah, if I don't want to say what I would do if I was CEO, but I think it's quite apparent what a lot of people will actually do in this scenario. Yeah, because you also have to, it's very convoluted because you got to look in the details of it, and when you look at the details, you find the devil in it. And the problem is that when we push this, let's say DEI, we push that
that was
so heavily, right? That when you push because of what somebody looks like over what they can produce,
merit.
yes, then you have these problems.
Yep.
Yeah, because then you have tech companies bringing in these people that don't know how to do the work.
Exactly.
So it's like, yeah, of course. Now I got to go find it elsewhere because if we rely on this, we'll fail as a company. And if I'm in business, I want to succeed. That's the only purpose of me being in business, to succeed. If I succeed, I'm producing. If I'm producing, I'm succeeding. I can't produce and succeed if I hire people that are incompetent.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. So when you have this DEI initiative and you have people that are incompetent of doing the work, then we have a problem. I have to outsource. So you can't get mad at Elon Musk or Vivek Ramaswamy for outsourcing with utilizing the H-1B visas to get these people over here. Like I would do the exact same thing.
Yeah, I would
just
too.
like some people, farmers, they hire these illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
They'll hire them to do the work, cheaper labor. Because go ahead.
Only thing that kills me about the H-1BC program, I mean the H-1B visa program, is that where the recruitment comes from. So in Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
It is a strong base of STEM grads in Nigeria. Even self-taught computer programmers. That's extremely talented. And they speak English because that's the reason why they're supposed to recruit so many people from India to come over to America. But Nigeria doesn't get as much H-1Bs as India does. Yeah. And it's cheaper. It's cheaper for for you to hire a coder in Nigeria than India.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's so much coders, it's so much scientists in Nigeria. It's just a ton of tech talent in Nigeria. And they have no outlet to provide that talent. So you know what they negate to? Cybercrimes. I know how to code. You guys told me to go to school for 4 years. I went for 6 years. I'm putting in these applications. Nobody's hiring me. Next thing you know, one of the gang members from Nigeria knock on your door. You know how to code? You think you could hack this app, or you think you could talk to these old ladies, or build a bot to talk to old ladies in America to get their skin? Now he has a job. So it's similar to what's going on in what went on back in the 60s with kind of like the Black Panther movement and all those movements, because they had the ability, a lot of individuals at that time was going to college.
Huey Newton himself. It
was a college. They was coming out of the military, going into college. War was over, Vietnam War was over, going into the military, going to college. When they got out of college, they really couldn't find any jobs. Why? The Italians just came here 30 years ago. Jews just came here. The Germans just came here. There's no jobs for you. Okay, let's start our own political party. Oh, we got our political rights, but we forgot the economics of this. We have no donors. So they resulted into turning most of those national movements for political power into gangs. And then those gangs turned into crime units just so they could support themselves. And now they exist now. So that's what's going on in Nigeria and a lot of African countries. Why we don't outsource there? If we're actually looking for cheaper labor. Because I know from personal experience that a Nigerian coder is cheaper than an Indian coder.
Yeah, but is he as effective as an Indian coder? The
reason why he's a little bit more effective, because Nigeria is more westernized in culture than India. And the reason why I say that, majority of them is Christians. The English still control.
Yeah, but what about the resources that they have to let's say, quickly transition? Like, I will presume that a lot of investments goes into India. The technology base.
Strategically, they go into India now.
Strategically, yes. and their technology base, which gives them an edge over, let's say, a place like Nigeria. So if you had to pick two who can transition into your company seamlessly, I'm going to go with the one that has an edge. And that's why I think people go with, that's why 75% of the H-1B visas are from India. And I think it goes that from India, then China, then Thailand, I believe.
Yep, and mostly Asia. Now, as far as transitioning, Lagos is one of the most developed and popular cities in Nigeria. And you know, Nigeria has the largest GDP in Africa itself.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Lagos is like Nigeria's New York City. They have parts that's extremely impoverished and then parts that look like Long Island. Right? They got parts like the Hamptons. They got parts that look like Midtown Manhattan. So they got parts that look like Hollywood. Super large mansions. Because a lot of the billionaires from Africa come out of Nigeria. So they have the actual capability for technology companies. And you're starting to see a lot of individuals going to Nigeria based on entertainment. They always try to like indulge the African or Black American community, the melanated people, into more entertainment-based industries. And so, and I'm not trying to make it a thing about race, but if we're gonna base things on merit, let Nigeria get a shot.
Well, they have recruiters that play the middleman, right, to receiving these H-1B visas.
And they're lucrative businesses too, by the way.
Yeah, they be scamming these people. Scammers. I just found out too that a lot of these people, like let's say you're in India, I come to you and I say, hey, you want to work in America? You say yes, and I know that I can negotiate you $100,000 contract, but I'm going to give you only $30,000. So I would take the other portion of that contract, your yearly salary, and I will just ascertain that while you just go work for $30K.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the criteria is for you to go become a recruiter. So why don't you probably look into that too, bro?
Now we've been looking at how do we start a few of my guys. One of my guys that went to SUNY Binghamton. He went to SUNY Binghamton. Raul, you know I'm talking about you. Dude is super efficient, Dominican kid. Super effective project manager. He's the first dude I saw actually. Soon as agentic AI came out, he started building agentic AI bots immediately. And it was crazy because a lot of people didn't hear the technology. Basically, agentic AI bots are automated agents that does work and complete tasks for you. Right? And aggregate through that data, basically like comb through it to see what insights, to see what information they could get to come up with the next digital product. Now, with AI, Amazon, you can hack! This is where stuff is tricky. Individuals don't gotta comb through it no more. They can just release AI into it and figure it out. And then the information to come back to them. And then they can create products.
We're prepared to go the distance. This is a demonstration.
But every digital product that we touch, whether it's an app or it's a phone, whether it's a phone call, right? Whether it's anything that's digital is being stored in a data center. Because the materials from that, the data.
Why would Bezos, alongside other big names in tech, throw this kind of money at a robotics startup? The answer lies.
How can I say it's like materials for my jeans. This came from some factory. We know this came from some factory. We know that the material of it came from some mining or animal operation, right? And we know they put it together in a manufacturing facility. Data centers is where people put together products.
Yeah, so
digital products.
So when you say that they put the digital products together at the data centers, I'm thinking because we create the data, like you use an example of your phone, and then that data that we created, the video, hypothetically speaking, is then stored in the cloud. That cloud is powered. My thought was that the cloud is powered by a data center.
It is.
Okay, so the product is being made externally and being stored internally.
No, the cloud is sitting in the data center. The cloud is a product itself.
So the cloud is a product as well.
It's a digital
So
product.
you can create multiple clouds.
You can create multiple clouds.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You could. It was on a cloud. You can create
Got it.
multiple clouds.
So who creates a cloud? The data center.
No, a company could create a cloud, but you need a data center to create the
To
cloud.
power the cloud.
Exactly.
Cloud, okay. Okay. Yeah, it's very
And all of this has to be processed by a workforce.
How much something like this will bring to a city like hypothetically Niagara Falls?
400 jobs, 500
Okay.
for the construction of it, depending upon how big. So for
Let's
the
talk about it's done, it's net worth. Let's talk about taxes. Like let's talk about how much it's going to actually bring to the city of Niagara Falls. Now you can
we're
take
talking
job-wise.
about $8 million a year
Okay.
just from them paying taxes on their own.
Okay, so $8 million from taxes.
Yeah,
Now you're giving people salaries. Those people come into the community. Obviously, they spend.
and it's another number. Don't quote me on this, but energy, because data centers use a ton of energy, so you have to pay like an extra tax for energy. 20 million, right? So,
It's a big jump.
right? So, with the energy, because how big the data centers
center's
are,
gonna be.
and companies want to be close to data centers, like they're manufacturing. I mean, you can be anywhere in the world, but if I'm Facebook, I can put my data center here.
It's like companies want to be close to like Amazon or post office.
Exactly. Amazon owns a lot of data centers as well too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the AWS Service Cloud is pretty big. But yeah, what ends up happening is those individuals will have high paying jobs. 75,000 to start and up. 400 individuals. That group of 400 individuals as a collective,
Making how much a year? You said.
averaging 75,000.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. So $75,000 a year, and that's coming back into the community.
That's coming back into the community. But the power that those individuals will have working at that data center. It's private individuals. that's pretty steep. That'd be a new power group. That's not controlled by the current establishment. So why would we want that bill? That makes no sense. Why we want a new voting block? This is what I'm talking about with these dudes. They will curb economic development just so it doesn't ruin their power structure. Because now there's 400 voters. They have money. What if they back another person? What if they decide to join the school board? What are we going to do?
So you think that because of nefarious and selfish proclivities is the reason why we're not moving forward with the data center? So everybody essentially has to suffer.
Yeah, I feel like that's why we're not moving forward with the data center. I feel that the project that they want to do instead of the data center is strictly a promise to the labor unions.
What is that project?
Centennial Park.
What the hell is that?
It's a stadium. Well, arena. 7,000 seat arena they want to put downtown.
And who's going to perform or play in this arena?
According to him, Elvis Presley. So, yeah, that's how, because he keep telling people to go back in the days when all these performers used to come, and he's naming all of the old performers that currently doesn't.
Who's naming them? The mayor?
The mayor. The mayor's name. Mayor Robert Restyle. He's naming all of these guys. He's saying they're going to throw family, sports events. The minor league teams is going to be there playing. The college teams.
Why not build both?
Why not build both? That was the guys who was running the data center project. Listen, you got land over there. We give you guys $3.5 million. 350, I think $350,000 a year. Go build your data center over there.
Your park?
I mean your
stadium.
your stadium over there, somewhere else. It'd be better over there near 3rd Street. Why don't you build it over there? Why are you trying to build it near Buffalo Avenue? That makes no sense.
So there is room to
Do both.
Yes, 100%. There's room to do both.
Yes.
Yes. Look,
But for
so many
some-
zombie homes here. You can
But for some reason, the mayor doesn't want to do both. I don't know why.
I would love to talk to him. I would love to bring him on the podcast.
You know what? I can make that. He actually might come.
I would love to have a conversation with him.
Yeah, he actually might come. He actually might come. Like, he actually might come. And I can set that up. I'll give you Colleen. And I'll give
seriously.
you. I'm seriously will give you Colleen's email right now and say you want the mayor on the podcast.
Yeah. If you're there, email her. Let her know.
All you gotta do is write her. They respond to every email.
Okay.
Me emailing?
Oh, okay. You send it to me.
Yeah, they.
Is there anything else you want to cover? We like this one?
Nah, we were running back because I know we could run it back later on.
Yeah,
this
was good, bro.
Yeah, this was good money.
I like that. This was a good conversation.
Yeah,
It was smooth. Yeah, we could definitely. We got some good stuff on here. We could definitely use it for clips, but
yeah.
I know you want to get some hard hitting punches out there. I don't know if you want to throw something out.
I think we did a bunch.
We didn't talk about Jamel and them.
We didn't throw down a bunch of melon.
No, I mean it's okay.
All right, yeah, just real fast. Let's just add this hard hit punch real fast.
Okay.
And if you could fit it in anywhere.
So when I think about politics too, because we have a lot of problems here with Niagara Falls, but I look at Niagara Falls and Buffalo like big brother, little brother scenario, and I think that if Buffalo wins, Niagara Falls automatically wins as well. Buffalo fails, it's over for Niagara Falls.
I think the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, I think because Niagara Falls is the world wonder, if Niagara Falls is underdeveloped, Buffalo will never be a global city. Because the globe comes to Niagara Falls first.
For sure. Yeah, Niagara Falls fail, Buffalo fails. Because a lot of I had a lot of connections that work in the airports, and they would tell me a lot of people that come through the airports that come to Niagara Falls.
Exactly. You Bills fan?
Yeah, I know, right? So very interesting because I look at the politics as well. It's like, Niagara Falls doesn't have any problem. I think Byron Brown did a good job. I don't know too much about what he. I think Byron Brown did a good job.
I like Byron.
Yeah, I think he did a good
job. I like Byron. I'm just honest with you. I like him.
I met him a couple times. Byron is a dope guy. As an individual, I don't know too much, and this is what I was going to say. I don't know in depth about his policies, so I'm really apprehensive on saying how he was politically. But from my knowledge, I think he did a really good job in Buffalo.
I think Byron did great as well too, and I think he backs innovation.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
He's not going for. One thing about Byron didn't really, at least in my opinion, he didn't go for what they tried to push on him.
Yeah, I remember he went through a little problem too.
Yeah, if you try to push something on Byron and it's actually not in the benefit of who he feel his constituents is, he's not running with the program. He did a lot for the community, and people gonna miss him that he gone, especially with these candidates that's running now. But what kills me in Buffalo politics, and what kills me in mostly all politics, when it comes to the black community, is it's a pie when it comes to politics. You get this piece, you get this piece, you get this piece. Instead of being the one controlling who divvies out who get the pieces, well, the black community aggregate through that data, basically like comb through it to see what insights, to see what information they could get to come up with the next digital product. Now, with AI, this is where stuff get tricky. Individuals don't got to comb through it no more. They could just release AI into it to figure it out. And then the information to come back to them, and then they could create products off of that. But every digital product that we touch, whether it's an app, whether it's a phone, whether it's a phone call, right? Whether it's anything that's digital is being stored in a data center. Because the materials from that, the data, and how can I say it? It's like materials for my genes. This came from some factory. We know this came from some factory. We know that the material of it came from some mining or animal operation, right? And we know they put it together in a manufacturing facility. Data centers is where people put together products.
Yeah. So
Digital products.
Okay. So when you say that they put the digital products together at the data centers, okay, I'm thinking because we create the data, like you use the example of your phone, and then that data that we created, the video, hypothetically speaking, is then stored in the cloud. That cloud is powered. My thought was that the cloud is powered by a data center.
It is.
Okay, so the product is being made externally and being stored internally.
No, the cloud is sitting in the data center. The cloud is a product itself.
So the cloud is a product as well?
It's a digital
So
product.
you create multiple clouds?
You could create multiple clouds.
Okay, okay.
You could. It was our cloud. You could create
Got it.
multiple clouds.
So who creates a cloud? The data center.
No, a company could create a cloud, but you need a data center to create the
To
cloud.
power the cloud.
Exactly.
Copy. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's very
And all of this has to be processed by a workforce.
How much something like this will bring to a city like hypothetically Niagara Falls?
400 jobs, 500.
Okay.
For the construction of it, depending upon how big. So for
Let's
the
talk about it's done, net worth. Let's talk about taxes. Like, let's talk about how much it's going to actually bring to the city of Niagara Falls. Now you can say
we're talking about $8 million a year.
Okay.
Just from them paying taxes on their own.
Okay, so $8 million from taxes.
Yeah.
Now you're giving people salaries. Those people come into the community. Obviously, they spend.
And it's another number, don't quote me on this, but energy. Because data centers use a ton of energy, so you have to pay like an extra tax for energy. 20 million? Right? So
It's a big jump, bro.
big jump, right? So big, with the energy, because how big the data centers are.
Gonna be.
And companies want to be close to data centers. Like they're manufacturing hubs. I mean, you can be anywhere in the world, but if I'm Facebook, I can put my data center here.
It's like companies want to be close to like Amazon or post office.
Exactly. Exactly. Amazon owns a lot of data centers as well too.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So the AWS Service Cloud is pretty big. But yeah, what ends up happening is those individuals will have high paying jobs. 75,000 to start and up. 400 individuals. That group of 400 individuals as a collective,
Making how much a year? You said.
averaging 75,000.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. So $75,000 a year, and that's coming back into the community.
That's coming back into the community. But the power that those individuals will have working at that data center. It's private individuals. That's pretty steep. That'd be a new power group. That's not controlled by the current establishment. So why would we want that built? That makes no sense. Why we want a new voting block? This is what I'm talking about with these dudes. They will curb economic development just so it doesn't ruin their power structure. Because now there's 400 voters. They have money. What if they back another person? What if they decide to join the school board? What are we gonna do?
So you think that because of nefarious and selfish proclivities is the reason why we're not moving forward with a data center? So everybody essentially has to suffer.
Yeah, I feel like that's why we're not moving forward with the data center. I feel that the project that they want to do instead of the data center is strictly a promise to the labor unions.
What is that project?
Centennial Park.
What the hell is that?
It's a stadium, well, arena, 7,000 seat arena they want to put downtown.
And who's going to perform or play in this arena?
According to him, Elvis Presley. So, yeah, that's how, because he keep telling people to go back in the days when all these performers used to come, and he's naming all of the old performers that currently doesn't.
Who's naming them? The mayor?
The mayor. The mayor's name. Mayor Robert Restano. He's naming all of these guys. He's saying they're going to throw family and sports events. The minor league teams is going to be there playing. The college teams.
Why not build both?
Why not build both? That was the guys who was running the data center project. Listen, you got land over there. We'll give you guys $3.5 million. 350, I think it's $350,000 a year. Go build your data center over there.
Be a part.
I mean, your
stadium.
your stadium over there, somewhere else. It'd be better over there near 3rd Street. Why don't you build it over there? Why are you trying to build it near Buffalo Avenue? That makes no sense.
So there is room to
Do both.
No, it's 100%.
This is.
Yeah, it's
But for
so many zombie homes here. You can.
But
knock
for
down a
some
couple.
reason, the mayor doesn't want to do both. I don't know why.
I would love to talk to him. I would love to bring him on the podcast.
You know what? I could make that. He actually might come.
I would love to have a conversation with him.
Yeah, he actually might come. He actually might come. Like, he actually might come. And I can set that up. I'll give you Colleen, and I'll give you.
Seriously,
I'm seriously will give you Colleen's email right now and say you want the mayor on the podcast.
Yeah. If you email her, let her know.
All you got to do is write it. They respond to every email.
Okay. Yeah.
Me emailing?
Send it to me.
Yeah, they.
When I think about politics, too, because we have a lot of problems here with Niagara Falls, but I look at Niagara Falls and Buffalo like big brother, little brother scenario, and I think that if Buffalo wins, Niagara Falls automatically wins as well. Buffalo fails, it's over for Niagara Falls.
I think the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, I think because Niagara Falls is the world wonder, if Niagara Falls is underdeveloped, Buffalo will never be a global city. Because the globe comes to Niagara Falls first.
For sure. Yeah, Niagara Falls fail, Buffalo fails as well. Because a lot of I have a lot of connections that work in the airports, and they would tell me a lot of people that come through the airports are coming to Niagara Falls.
Exactly. Come on. You Bills fan?
Yeah, I know, right? So very interesting because I look at the politics as well. It's like, Niagara Falls is having a problem. I think Byron Brown did a good job.
I like Byron.
Yeah, I think he did a good job.
I like Byron. I'm just honest with you. I like him.
Yeah, I've met him a couple times. Byron is a dope guy. As an individual, I don't know too much, and this is what I was going to say. I don't know in depth about his policies, so I'm really apprehensive on saying how he was politically. But from my knowledge, I think he did a really good job in Buffalo.
I think Byron did great as well too, and I think he backs innovation.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
He's not going for. One thing about Byron didn't really, at least in my opinion, he didn't go for what they tried to push on him.
Yeah, I remember he went through a little problem too.
Yeah, if you try to push something on Byron and it's actually not in the benefit of who he feel his constituents is, he's not running with the program. He did a lot for the community, and people gonna miss him that he gone, especially with these candidates that's running now. But what kills me in Buffalo politics, and what kills me in mostly all politics when it comes to the black community, is it's a pie when it comes to politics. You get this piece, you get this piece, you get this piece. Instead of being the one controlling who divvies out who get the pieces, the black community somehow falls to who gets the crumbs, who licks the pan, and who's waiting in the line.
Who gets access to it?
Yeah. They don't even get access to the pie.
No.
They don't get
access to the crumb.
Yeah, they're to the crumb. And if they can't get a crumb, they're begging to lick the pan, to get the residue. So the pan lickers, the guys who actually don't do anything but put themselves in the spotlight so they could benefit off of personally benefit off of
the look.
Yeah. Of looking like they're important.
There's somebody,
Yeah. And
like, oh, I got access to the White House now.
Exactly.
I'm taking pictures with Kamala Harris.
Exactly. So when you look at these dudes, for example, like when I was moving back to Buffalo, I saw your argument with Jamel Cruz, right? This year. So I had a run-in with Jamel Cruz as well. Me and my co-founder, Dillion. He did a podcast with us that was supposed to launch for Studi. And for some reason, it never dropped. And I used to have conversations with him, in the background, yo, you gotta say yes, Buffalo, you've been a marketing manager this long. Why haven't they moved you up the ladder? why is everybody getting moved up but you? And you're like a native of Buffalo and you're doing all these great things. Like, yo, we gotta change this. This is the establishment. Like, we gotta position ourselves to like, yo, we about to be at the top next. How long you gonna play the sideline? Bro, we ain't talk after that. You know why? Because he's a pan licker. I'm sorry to say that. He doesn't care about because he's actually not doing anything.
Yeah. So you
Go
know,
ahead.
I gotta be very conscientious of this. Now, yes, I did have my fuel with him online, and you know, he rubbed me the wrong way in his ideology, and I'm sure I rubbed him the wrong way in mine as well.
Yeah.
I don't think he pushes what's beneficial for the community that supports him, and he claims his support. Because if you did care about your community, if anybody cared about the community, they would never push Kamala Harris as a candidate to help run this country.
And I feel the same way.
Like, I feel like if you had any common sense or any merit, you would say like, okay, wait, hold on. Who is this candidate? Not what the media is saying who they are, but who actually is this candidate? What they produce? What do they support? And you will see that everything that she supported was so backwards to what we want as American citizens, unless you want the destruction of America. And if you want the destruction of America, then you want the destruction of your own people.
Yeah, most of these dudes is paid guns. So their actual job depends on them supporting the Democratic
That's
Party.
the problem I have.
That is the pan licking.
Yes, I have that problem. It's like, no, you can't come over here and tell me that you support or you're doing this for the community and you do X, Y, and Z in Africa. I don't give a shit about none of that. If you're getting paid to support the ideology that is deleterious to your people, don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You can talk about what you do, who you give money to, who you give water to. I don't give a shit about any of that. What I care about is what you setting up the people for. Because handouts has always been given by your party.
Exactly.
But solutions, no.
Never.
And that's the problem I have with these people.
Your job is gone. Mm-hmm. So you're not backing the Democratic Party based off of their merit, mm-hmm. their principles, their values, their plans, right? Mm-hmm. You're backing them off of you personally getting a job. You don't care if they leave the East Side in crumbs. Mm-hmm. You don't care in Niagara Falls if they don't give the 4th District any money. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of dudes in Niagara Falls the same way. But a lot of the individuals that's currently in the Democratic Party, locally and nationally, is something called slave drivers. Mm. And what is a slave driver? It's something that the Democrats use very well since their existence.
That's a great tool they have.
They will take individuals out of every... So, give you a history of what a slave driver is. A plantation had a hierarchy. You had the slave master.
House nigga.
You had the house nigga. Mm-hmm. You had the guards, who basically watch the overseers.
Yeah.
Then you had the slaves. Mm-hmm. But in the middle of the overseers,
So it was a master, the guards, house nigga, and then
house nigga, and then in the middle of the slaves,
in between the
slaves and the overseer, it was 2 groups of individuals that were African American, right? That were slaves as well. It was the house Negroes that was right under the overseer, and then there was something called the slave drivers that was right above the slaves. Now, the slave drivers is the most weirdest individuals I feel out here on the fucking field with me, right? You're not even really a house Negro. Mm-hmm. You're not living in the house. You don't really know what's going on a high level of things, like the Negroes in Washington, right? Or the Negroes that's working at City Hall, or the Negroes that's actually running the city and the region. Democrat Party is not telling y'all what their real plan is, like the traditional house Negro.
Yeah, you're not part of that.
You're not part of that elite class. Mm-hmm. You're not a house Negro. You're a slave driver. Mm-hmm. Your job is to drive as many slaves to work directly on the plantation and never get off. And the benefit of the slave masters. Whenever they try to leave, you shame them. You tell the master they're trying to leave. You whip them economically. Socially, you try to disassociate them. You shame them, right? And these slave drivers, they're still in the community with us. The house Negroes you barely see. They in the house. You only see them on TV. You say celebrities as house Negroes. But certain celebrities are house Negroes. But these dudes locally, they just slave drivers, bro. They slaves themselves out on the field with us. But because they get an extra portion of a meal.
Yeah, a pat on the back.
A pat on the back. Yeah, they still in the field sweating.
I know him.
Yeah.
I know Kamala. I'm in the White House now. Bro, you like a clown, bro. So, yeah, it's crazy you bring that up, bro. Because I look at it too. I'm like, you people really don't care. Because if you really did care, you would pay attention to what's actually happening. You do your research, your history. Because I see a lot of dudes. When they did the Kamala Harris, the Black Women for Kamala Harris event, I was like, bro, I was gonna go. I was, I'm not putting my money in this. I'm not giving them my money. But I watched it, and that was my first video. That galvanized me to say, hey, yo, listen, I'm gonna do this podcast. I gotta do this podcast. I ran that event, Black Women for Kamala Harris, support Kamala Harris, and I just watched these idiots just talk about supporting how Kamala Harris is like a Barack Obama and X, Y, and Z. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I mean, what is happening? I mean, no, and I just went in on him, bro. I went in on him, and then that's when him and I started beefing for real.
Yeah, man, we gotta train our. I feel like economic development policies, like you have to come in with plans. I hear people running for elected officials saying that they actually want to do something, but let me see an actual plan. Because you're running a business. Working with global competitors who wants our number one spot,
Right.
and wants you eating wheat for breakfast, dinner, and lunch. And corn. They don't even want
Dante,
Yeah.
I really gotta roll, bro.
All right, bro.
I appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate
Anytime, come back.
All right.
Sure, bro.
Yo, we gotta follow up. You know they're gonna say something.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
He's gonna send this to everybody because I'm doing that. Yo, you saw what Dante was with Shadi? He said we're all slave drivers.
You won't let him.
Yeah, I'm happy, bro.
Yeah. Yo, hit me up, bro.
I
You say you got your meeting tomorrow, right?
For breakfast, dinner, and lunch. And corn. They don't even want.
Dante,
Yeah.
you gotta roll, bro.
All right, bro.
Appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate
Anytime, come back.
All right.
bro.
Yeah, we gotta follow up. You know they're gonna say something.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
He's gonna send this to everybody because I'm doing that. Yo, you saw Dante was with Shani. He said we're all slave drivers.